My wife carried her pillow into my friend Drew's hotel room after announcing that he was her choice for a one-night couples swap. Her name is Chloe, I'm Wyatt, and I told her the door closing would end our trip and our marriage as we knew it. She closed it anyway. I packed my suitcase and checked out alone before sunrise. The trip had been Chloe's idea. 4 couples rented rooms at a mountain resort for a long weekend. We had all been friends for years. Drew and his wife Paige lived 6 blocks from us. We shared summer cookouts, football Sundays, and the kind of group messages where somebody could ask for a ladder and receive 3 offers before finishing breakfast. I had known Drew since our first job after college. He stood beside me at my wedding. I helped him renovate his kitchen. When he married Paige, Chloe read a poem during their ceremony. That history was why the proposal felt less like a fantasy and more like my wife reaching into the center of our life. Chloe had mentioned partner swapping once before. We were watching a television drama where 2 married couples made the arrangement during a vacation. Chloe asked whether I thought real people could do it without jealousy. Some probably can, I said. I cannot. Not even as a fantasy. A fantasy is private. Asking our friends changes it. She said she was curious, not dissatisfied. We had been married 11 years. Familiarity was safe but did not always make a person feel desired. The appeal, she said, was being wanted by someone who had no obligation to want her. Then enjoy the idea, I said. Do not recruit anyone into it. She agreed. The subject returned at Chloe's 40th birthday dinner. Drew complimented the green dress she wore, and Chloe asked Paige whether she ever felt strange that their husbands had known each other longer than either marriage existed. Sometimes I think they are the real couple, Paige joked. Chloe answered, then maybe we married the wrong partners. Everyone laughed. Later, while we cleared glasses at home, Chloe asked whether Drew had looked at her differently in the dress. He said you looked good, I answered. That is not what I asked. I told her I had not monitored my friend's eyes. She said it should flatter me. When another man wanted my wife, I said a compliment could be flattering, but turning my friend into a measurement device was unfair to all 4 of us. I am allowed to wonder whether I still register, she said. You register with me. You are supposed to say that. The sentence stayed with me. My desire had become evidence she could dismiss. Because commitment made it predictable, attention from Drew would count more. Precisely because he was not supposed to offer it. I asked her directly whether Drew was the person she had imagined during the television conversation about swapping. Chloe denied it. She said I was forcing a face onto a general fantasy because jealousy needed a suspect. I believed her enough not to mention it again. The couple's trip proved the face had already been there. The first day at the resort was ordinary. We hiked, ate outside, and complained about the price of drinks. Drew and Paige argued quietly after Paige learned he had accepted a new work assignment without discussing the travel. By dinner, they sat at opposite ends of our long table. Chloe watched them more than I realized at the time. After dinner, the group moved to a lounge with a fireplace. Someone suggested a card game built around embarrassing questions. The questions started harmlessly. Worst haircut, first celebrity crush, lie told to parents. Then one card asked each person to name someone in the room, other than their spouse, they would take to a deserted island. People chose based on practical skills. Paige chose Martin because he was a doctor. Drew chose Emma because she grew up camping. When Chloe's turn came, she raised her glass toward Drew. Drew, she said, and not because he can build a fire. The table laughed unevenly. Drew looked at me. I'm still choosing Emma, he said. Chloe leaned forward. You would change your answer if the island had a hotel. Paige put down her cards. What is that supposed to mean? It means your husband knows I'm attractive. The room went quiet. I told Chloe we were done with the game. Why? She asked. Everybody knows couples trips become boring because nobody admits the obvious. What obvious thing? Paige said. Chloe looked around the table. That if we swapped rooms for one night, half of us would finally remember what anticipation feels like. Nobody laughed. I stood and asked Chloe to come outside. She took another sip before following me onto the terrace. What are you doing? I asked. Saying what everyone thinks. You named my friend in front of his wife. Paige has spent all evening punishing him. Maybe she should appreciate that someone else sees him. This is not about their argument. Chloe said a room swap did not have to mean sex. People could talk, sleep and wake beside someone different. The point was disrupting routine. No, I said. You do not get to answer for 4 couples. I answer for my marriage, no. She asked whether I was afraid Drew would prefer her. I said I was afraid my wife considered humiliating 2 spouses a form of adventure. You made a public proposal, I said. End it publicly. We returned to the lounge. Chloe apologized for making the game uncomfortable. She did not withdraw Drew's name. She said only that her sense of humor had missed the room. Paige left for the spa area with Emma. Drew went to the bar. The other couples changed the subject. In the elevator, Chloe accused me of making her apologize for honesty. You promised not to recruit anyone into that fantasy, I said. I did not recruit, I made a joke. You offered the group a partner swap and named Drew. Nobody said yes. Because the people you embarrassed protected the boundary. Our room was on the 4th floor. Drew and Paige's was 3 doors away. Chloe entered ours, kicked off her shoes, and opened her suitcase. I told her I wanted to sleep and discuss it at home. Of course, she said. We always discuss desire later, somewhere private after it stops feeling alive. She changed in the bathroom and came out wearing a black camisole and sleep shorts. Then she removed her pillow from the bed. Where are you going? Paige is staying with Emma tonight. How do you know? She texted the women's chat. Put the pillow back. Chloe picked up her toothbrush and phone. Drew should not be alone after that fight. You created the fight at the table. They were fighting before dinner. You are not going into his room. I am going to talk to a friend. In a camisole with a pillow, after asking to swap partners. She put on the resort robe, but did not return the pillow. I stepped into the corridor with her. I did not touch her or block the way. If you knock on Drew's door, this trip is over, I said. That is your choice. If you enter, our marriage does not return to the same room tomorrow. You cannot make a hotel hallway into a divorce court. I am telling you what the door means to me before you open it. Chloe walked 3 doors down and knocked. Drew opened wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. He looked at the pillow, then at me standing outside our room. What is happening? He asked. Paige left you alone, Chloe said. I thought we could talk. You should go back to Wyatt. Wyatt knows where I am. I told Drew the decision belonged to Chloe. If he wanted no part of it, he could close the door while she remained in the hall. Drew rubbed his face. Nothing is happening, he said. We can sit for 10 minutes and calm down. Chloe stepped past him. I looked at her. Come back now. Check on me in the morning, she said. Then she closed the door. I stood in the corridor for one breath. I did not knock, shout, or call Paige. The closed door had answered every question Chloe claimed we were still discussing. I returned to our room and packed. The process took 7 minutes. I put my clothes into the rolling suitcase, left Chloe's belongings untouched, and placed her room key on the desk. I called the front desk and asked whether I could check out while leaving the room active for the other registered guest. They said yes. I took the elevator to the lobby. At 5:15, I signed the checkout slip. The clerk asked whether I wanted a printed copy. I said no. A car carried me to the train station and I went home alone. Chloe called at 6:40. Where are you? On the train. You actually left. I told you I would. I slept in Drew's room. I did not sleep with Drew. You chose his room after I asked you to choose ours. She said they talked for an hour. Drew took the sofa. She used the bed. Nobody touched. She woke at 5, returned to our room and found my key on the desk. You made your point, she said. Come back before breakfast so the group does not know. The group heard you propose the swap. That was a joke. The pillow was not. She ended the call. Drew contacted me that afternoon. He sounded ashamed. He said Chloe had entered and removed the robe. She sat on the edge of his bed in the camisole and asked whether he had ever imagined her instead of Paige. Drew said he told her no. Chloe accused him of lying to protect their friendship. She climbed under the duvet and said he could use the other side without touching her. Drew took the sofa. At 2 in the morning, Chloe got up, stood beside him and asked whether he really felt nothing. Drew told her he loved Paige and that wanting attention was not the same as being entitled to receive it from a friend's husband. Why didn't you make her leave? I asked. I should have, he said. I thought getting into an argument would wake the floor and make everything worse. He apologized for letting her cross the threshold. I told him his mistake mattered, but he had not carried the pillow. Paige called later. She had already heard Drew's account. Chloe had told the women's chat that I abandoned her because she comforted a friend. Paige said she was not blaming me and was deciding what Drew's decision meant for her own marriage. I did not ask for details. Chloe's choice had already damaged 2 couples. I would not turn Paige's pain into support for my case. Chloe returned Sunday night. She placed her suitcase in the entry and asked whether I planned to keep performing outrage now that we were home. I repeated Drew's account. Her face changed when I mentioned the camisole and the question beside the sofa. He is making himself the hero, she said. Did you ask whether he imagined you? Yes. Did you offer him the other side of the bed? I knew he would say no. Then why ask? I wanted to hear it. That answer surprised me. Chloe said the dinner had exposed something humiliating. She named Drew, and he chose Emma as the practical island partner. Paige treated him as unwanted, but he still did not look toward Chloe. She carried the pillow because she needed to know whether his public rejection was loyalty or lack of desire. Which answer did you want? I asked. I wanted him to want me and refuse. So my friend's desire was the souvenir you wanted from our couple's trip. She began to cry. I asked what she had expected me to do in the corridor. Chloe said she expected me to follow her to Drew's door, argue harder and eventually take the pillow from her hands. If I stopped her, she could blame my control for ending the experiment without having to choose against it herself. You wanted me to physically carry the boundary for you, I said. I wanted you to fight for me. I asked you to come back. You stood there like you had already decided I was gone. You were holding the pillow. Chloe said a dramatic husband would have made her feel desired too. He would have pounded on the door, challenged Drew or demanded that she return. My calm warning felt cold to her. I was not competing for my wife against my friend in a hotel hallway, I said. That is what I needed. Then you needed a marriage I will never agree to have. The admission clarified why my checkout surprised her. She had designed a triangle where both men proved her value, Drew by wanting her, me by dragging her back. When neither man performed the assigned role, she called us cruel. The following day, Paige asked all 4 of us to meet without the rest of the group. We sat at Drew and Paige's kitchen table, a place where the two couples had shared dozens of ordinary dinners. Paige asked Chloe whether she had targeted Drew because their marriage was in a weak moment. No, Chloe said. I chose him because we trust each other. Paige looked at her. You used my trust as access to my husband. Chloe said she had not touched Drew, and that Paige's anger belonged partly with the man who opened the door. Paige agreed. She was angry with him, but Drew's mistake did not make Chloe's pillow less deliberate. Drew apologized to all three of us. He said he should have refused the room the moment he saw me in the corridor. He had believed 10 minutes of conversation could prevent a public explosion. Instead, keeping the door open long enough for Chloe to enter made him part of the violation. Chloe asked why everyone treated her like she had committed adultery when the man in the room confirmed there had been no contact. Because you are still defending the distance you stopped at, Paige said. Instead of the doors you crossed to get there. I watched Chloe hear the sentence and reject it. She said Paige was using the situation to avoid her own marital problems. The meeting ended without repair. That was the last time the four of us sat at the same table. Chloe insisted she never planned sex. She wanted a night charged by possibility, with two married people choosing not to cross the final line. The restraint would prove that she could still create desire without destroying anything. You destroyed it before he touched you, I said. We tried counseling. Chloe's defense slowly changed from joke to comfort to experiment to need. Each word moved closer to the truth without changing the act. The counselor asked why she closed the door after I said what it meant. Because if I turned around, Wyatt would always know his boundary was stronger than my choice, she said. Wasn't returning also a choice? Chloe looked at me. It did not feel like mine anymore. She had chosen Drew's room partly because I told her not to. My marriage became the wall she needed to push against to feel independent. I asked whether she understood why checking out was not punishment. You wanted me to come back and find the room empty, she said. No, I wanted to stop waiting inside the room you rejected. Chloe apologized. She stopped calling it harmless. She admitted she had used Drew, Paige, and me to stage a test of her desirability. The apology was real. The consequence remained. An honest apology can explain a wound without restoring the person who was asked to live inside it. We separated 7 weeks after the trip. Drew and Paige also entered counseling, but I stepped back from both of them. The 4-couple group stopped traveling together. No dramatic announcement ended it. The group message simply became silent. The silence carried practical losses that had nothing to do with hotel rooms. Saturday cookouts disappeared. Birthdays divided into separate invitations. When a storm knocked branches into our neighborhood, I almost messaged Drew to ask whether he needed the chainsaw, then remembered we were no longer the men who walked into each other's garages without knocking. Chloe said I was punishing the entire group by refusing to return. I told her friendship could not resume on command when she had selected that friend as the instrument of our marriage's humiliation. Drew might have refused her body, but I still heard his name inside the proposal every time I saw him. I did not hate him. I simply could not use ordinary friendship to pretend the night had become ordinary. Months later, Chloe sent a photograph of the mountain resort during winter. She said she still remembered opening Drew's door and believed she could turn around until the final second. I believed that too. That was why the choice mattered. She had not been carried by alcohol, confusion, or secrecy. She heard me name the consequence, looked at me across 3 hotel doors, and closed one between us. My wife chose my friend's room on a couple's trip because she wanted him to desire her and refuse. I checked out alone because I refused to spend the morning pretending the room she abandoned still belonged to a couple.